everyone, and welcome back to Jurassic World. It's been a minute since I've done another Jurassic Park or Jurassic World related video. Ember, I believe is the name people have given him, or Amber, or something. I'll have to double check. He's joining me on this side of the screen today because my couch is piled up with laundry. It's 3 a.m. and I've run out of time to get everything done today. So you're just going to have to hang out with him. Also, yeah, the bookcase is in the background that I talked about. Now, I don't own a ton of Jurassic Park collectibles. What I do own is there on the shelf. I have a few small things that I didn't want to clutter the shelf up with, but it's a work in progress. If I had a proper YouTuber camera and not this shoddy little bought during COVID, on eBay and paid through the nose for it and got scammed webcam, I might actually be able to bring you really decent looking video footage, but that's not why we're here today. We're here today because I wanted to look at 3 really quick, really short videos that have been released that have to do with Jurassic World Rebirth. I also just realized I didn't close that door, which is something I always insist on doing, but again, I've run out of time to get everything done today, so I just wanted to squeeze this in at the end of my day because I needed it. I needed to do something Jurassic related to end my day on a good note. So without further ado, let's look at these videos.
The amazing fun thing that we've done with Gareth with the T-Rex is to just tweak the design. The flexibility we have here is that it's not the Rex that we've seen in all of the other Jurassic films.
Ours has got more of the eyebrows and the scales around the teeth, some of the shapes, just a bit more simplistic, a bit more classical like prior to Jurassic, how they thought dinosaurs looked.
The T-Rex can't sound entirely different. It's one of the most iconic dinosaur sounds ever created. I went back to some of the original source recordings, but there's an opportunity there to look for new material to make it work with the new actions that it's going to perform in the movie.
We've never done a swimming T-Rex on Jurassic. It's super exciting. There's a lot of science to as to how it might have swum, the body position that it's
how it would have swum. Yeah, everybody knows this, and everybody's talked to death about this, but yes, the river scene in the original novel had the T-Rex chasing Grant and the kids upriver or downriver. It's been years since I read the novel, so forgive me and my memory. But yeah, Spielberg, when he contacted David and he said, you remember that movie we made a long time ago, you want to make another one? I think was a clip David, said in a previous video we looked at. And but he said, but we got to get that river scene in there. And I don't know which one of the guys said it, but since the last video that I made with for this playlist, I've been seeing a few videos pop up in my YouTube feed of people just being negative Nancy's about the movie and having something to say about it. And I always click do not recommend channel. If you didn't like Jurassic World Rebirth, there's something completely wrong with you. It was a really good film. And of course, my neck, this is going to be all up in my business while I'm trying to record. Yeah, I just won't hear anything about it. I'm that kind of person. I've been trying to guard the things that I like with a jealous rage over the years, but I have decided not to do that anymore because even in some of my other videos, I've gotten into the habit of really critiquing things like Nintendo or Game Freak or whatever, on my gaming side of things, because it just feels like they're really phoning it in and not putting in the effort. But this feels like maximum effort with this film. And yes, to answer you guys and myself in the opening there before our intro, Ember was the name given to T-Rex by the team that worked on them in ILM. But yeah, the river scene, I'm so glad made it into this film. It may not be the original river scene from the novel from '93 with Grant and the kids, but it was just as effective and it was just as great. And yes, all the Rexes do not have to look the same. And there was some people online complaining about the Quetzalcoatlus design for Rebirth and it not looking like the one from Dominion. And the whole point to Isle St. Hubert is that it was a lab kind of site C, if you will, where all of the animals are mutants. And it's where Wu was doing his craziest experiments. So none of the animals here are going to look like the finished products that you saw in the theme park Jurassic World. In-world explanations matter when you're just throwing around hate.
Going to be in and the sort of mechanics of how that would work.
When we first saw the T-Rex from Jurassic Park 1, and then it's been dry throughout. When it started to interact with the water, it had to look slightly darker and have a different specular roll-off, as if it had just been wading through that water. And when you've got something the size of a T-Rex disturbing that water, you've really got to make sure that you get the subtle nuances of water to sell something that size and that scale.
We've gone back in and we've just looked at the shape and the structure of it. And so this new T-Rex is a sort of heavier, more masculine, bull-like T-Rex. It's got more muscle. There's a little bit more fat on it as well. When you
Even the figure on my shelf over there is vastly different. The figures that they released for Rebirth are completely different from the figures that you've seen with Jurassic World or even Jurassic Park. You look at the original Kenner T-Rex, and then you look at the Jurassic World versions of the T-Rex. Both were already completely different from one another, but then you go and look at the Rebirth version of the toy, and it's so vastly different. And it stands to reason that it would be different in the film as well. The only thing is, a lot of times with the toy line, they don't get the colors the same as they do on screen. And I think the right kid would nitpick about that. It was something that I didn't really nitpick as a kid. It just kind of was one of those things that I overlooked and I really didn't put too much thought into it. But as an adult, I'm kind of wondering why the colors are different on the toy than it would, because they even have two different T-Rex toys for Rebirth, and they're both completely different colors.
see this thing actually churning and plowing through the water, this idea of power and energy is really conveyed by the way the white water is being thrown up.
Come across the Distortus Rex, which is sort of like a T-Rex with like the giant weird head that's coming out of it. I don't know, it's so gross. None of us.
It is a very odd design, and I've heard people make fun of it. It's one of those, again, situations, like I said in the previous clip, where I guess the logic that David Kep had, and I think I heard him say this in an interview, was, this was a cloning facility where they were trying different things. Not only that, but he said something about, when you first start on this and you're first trying to put the pieces together, you can't tell me that they're always going to get it right. And that struck a chord with me, and that really did some powerful, like, in-world building, in my opinion, They're playing around with genetic manipulation, and there's no way they're going to get it 100% right all the time. And do they euthanize all of the animals? A lot of these animals cost millions, if not more, to create. So I can understand not wanting to just euthanize something you've spent $1 million to create, which I do hope is an angle that is tackled in a future installment. I know that they said something about that. I want to say they said that in the Jurassic World trilogy somewhere about these things costing a ton of money to make.
Really know what's inside the head. We built it a bit like a brain, but it's translucent and a bit scattery. I always love the idea that it's not a very intelligent dinosaur. It always looks a bit confused by everything, and it kind of walks into stuff and just walks through trees rather than around them, and therefore it's got loads of damage and scratches and bumps and bruises and stuff all over it.
Now, see, I didn't really get that from the movie. I didn't know that's what they were going for. Honestly, it wasn't as big a threat in the movie as I thought it was going to be. You know, I grew up with 80s and 90s movies, kind of the monster chasing you through the whole movie, or the alternative route where the monster just shows up at the very end of the movie, building that suspense. But this was different in a way. When it appeared, first of all, when it finally gets here to this scene, it has a very, spoilers here, but it has a very, well, I'll keep it spoiler free. It keeps a very, I'll keep it spoiler free. It has a few very, like, wow, he went there scenes. Like, I wasn't expecting that. But overall, I really didn't question the creature's intelligence until she said something just now. But I guess looking back on it, I guess that does kind of make sense. It's sad. I doubt we'll ever see this creature again, because on the CG animated show, Camp Cretaceous, that turned into Chaos Theory, the kids have kind of been going alongside the World Trilogy and interacting with some of the characters, and it's supposed to be taking place at the same time as that trilogy. And season 4 is coming up in a few months, and it's going to be the final season. I'm a little sad. I wanted to see more, but it's going to take place alongside Dominion, so I don't know if we'll get any more screen time with Forehead here.
The D-Rex we sort of nailed really fast, and I was really super happy with it. It got signed off by everybody. Stephen really liked it. Everything was a really smooth ride with that.
The Distortus Rex, I think, is my favorite creature in the film, and I can't call it a dinosaur because it's not. But it's the result of an experiment to create a dinosaur that's gone wrong. But it has these very, very long, gorilla-like forearms, and also 2 tiny little T-Rex arms as well. We started doing animation tests with that, and Gareth looked at it and was like, oh yeah, that's really cool. And it was kind of limping along, like it had one arm that was slightly damaged, and it's starting to give us this really almost like hunchbacked sort of motion to it. And we try to create this thing that is terrifying, but at the same time you connect with it and feel sorry for it.
Now, see, I did. Now, that I did get from the movie. You know, it's sad, you know, that this thing even exists. It's like the kill me, you know, thing. I feel bad for it. It is one of my more favorite creatures in the franchise, though. I don't know how I feel about the Mutodons, though. I do have the same complaint that I've seen people have post seeing this movie and like post letting it settle into our minds since we saw it this past summer, and that is the Velociraptors didn't have a lot of screen time. But on the other hand, the series seems to have been obsessed with them throughout, you know, the last 30 years. So I'll be completely honest, if I can go against the grain here for a minute, it was a little refreshing not to have one of these movies completely obsess over the Velociraptor. Just saying.
There's a lot of action happening here. We've just created all these moments where our actors kind of have to hide behind pillars and shadow or light.
And of course, I saved the best clip for last with Jonathan Bailey. Did they bother bringing anthropologists in to do any studies before they decided to just build a research facility on this island and start, you know, wrecking up the place? I doubt it. I doubt it. Knowing major corporations the way we do, they probably didn't bother doing the proper archaeological studies and digs and surveys and things that they needed to do before they started messing up this island. And of course, you know, going back to, I don't think the Jurassic films touched on this, but if you played Jurassic Park, the game, the Telltale game, they kind of gave you the idea and the feeling that these islands did at some point have local inhabitants that either moved away for whatever reason, or the Costa Rican government kind of cleared it out and they leased the islands to InGen for whatever reason. It doesn't go into a lot of detail over how that happened or anything like that. Again, it's been so many years since I read the novels. Maybe the novels go further into that. I don't know. I'd have to go back and reread them. But on the film side, it's not really something they touch. This, I think, is the first time it's kind of mentioned that any of these islands were inhabited. Of course, this is Site C, which I think, if I read correctly, is in the Atlantic Ocean, where the 5 deaths are in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Costa Rica. Why that anything engine related would be in the Atlantic is beyond me, but you'd have to ask Mr. David Kep. Maybe he could tell you.
We're shooting these stunt sequence of being dragged out of the nest. There was a moment where sort of Scarlett was the other side and they were cross shooting and we were ducking around sort of big tennis ball on a stick, and I just looked around, I was like, oh my god, there's like so many things that have been thought about here meticulously, and you look at the wall and you're like, oh my god, there's like individual brushstrokes.
There's a lot to imagine, but you're also like in a functional set, which is great and so helpful.
Oh no.
Henry!
We've got these big kind of pillars that are these kind of stalactites, stalagmites. As you kind of pull back, you'll notice that their teeth, the cave mouth, is literally a mouth. It's this prehistoric or mythical creature, and that is kind of reinforced in kind of the motifs on the pillars. Looking that way is going to be hopefully all in camera, no VFX. Looking this way, we've got blue screen. The VFX will come in post.
You know, it's funny, I didn't even think about that. I'm so absent-minded and basic in my brain. Yeah, I guess they are like dragon mythical creatures in the temple there. And then all these years later, I don't know what civilization would have built that, but the irony, I guess, now I get it. You know, now we have dinosaurs inhabiting these ancient ruins. That's neat. But yeah, these clips are being released. Let me take a look here because I want to get my information correct for you guys. Let me put this up so I don't accidentally click on the wrong thing like I almost did just there. I've got so many tabs open for game related stuff too that has nothing to do with what we're looking at here. Okay, yeah. I want to say all 3 of these videos can be found on Universal Pictures All Access, and of course, as always, I'll link all 3 of these videos in the description for my video. But I wanted to take a real quick look at that tonight while I had a quick moment. I thought you guys would enjoy a little behind the scenes stuff because we're in the age of streaming, and we're just not buying DVDs and VHSs like we used to. So we don't have behind the scenes stuff. We don't have access to like DVD commentary or special features. I'm still waiting for DVDs to just be outright, like DVDs, Blu-rays, 4K Ultra discs. I'm waiting for all that stuff to just be halted, but thankfully they're still producing it. I think today actually, well, today's the 4th now because it's like 3:30 a.m. But I think yesterday on the 3rd, the home media versions for Rebirth got released. Next time I'm in the store and I see it, I'll snatch one up. Because Jurassic is still one of those franchises that I will buy physical media for. Because even with all my games, you know, on the video game side of things, I was going to hold up my Switch, but I only have the case here in front of me. Or my Switch 2 rather, as it is now. Even with the Switch 2, 99% of all my games are digital, and then I have Steam, so... But I still insist with Jurassic, I will have it all on physical media here in front of me. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this really quick episode today. Gave you a little behind the scenes stuff to take a look at. Gave you a little Jonathan Bailey to take a look at. And as always, we took a look at the Rex, which is our favorite. And then, of course, you know, like I said, we got everything going on behind me over there with the shelf. I'll get that worked out so it looks better. And I am, once I get the Switch 2 paid off on my card, I'm going to try and get new microphone, new webcam, and at some point, just a whole new computer. We'll be Uptown Jim Brown and start making this sucker really look professional. Best I can, anyway. All right. Thank you guys so much for being here today and watching this video. I don't usually do this because I find this part of YouTube cringe, but if you wouldn't mind, do the usual stuff that YouTubers ask you to do so the algorithm will push these videos out. Because even if nobody ever watches my gaming stuff, which is fair, it can be a little droll and boring, I really want these videos to pop off. I really want other Jurassic fans to see this and hopefully get something out of it and share in our passion for this franchise. So thumbs up, comment, whatever you got to do to get the algorithm interested would be much appreciated. See you, folks.